This episode of the Far End of the Bench with Jimmy Pilato, Nico Bryant is presented by the Variety Sports Network. Follow them at variety_sports_ for all the great content coming from that platform. You can also catch our show every Wednesday along with the other great shows and the other great hosts on the Variety Sports Network.
Oh, Paddy.
Oh, Paddy the Batty.
What a freaking week of sports, eh? Huh?
Yeah, it was first a
No
weekend
football,
that
no hockey,
there was
no
nothing.
basketball.
No, and baseball was an acid trip, to be like, let's be frank, over the weekend. Baseball was an acid trip. The Boston Red Sox gave up 28 runs to the Toronto Blue Jays. So
Shout
it was
out Tapia
yeah.
for South Park Grand Slam.
This is this is our break. This is our summer. We don't want to we're not trying to work ourselves to death because we got plenty of stuff that's coming down the pike. And then the only sport that's really going on takes over, and that was electric. Like, it goes from 0 to 100, and you got Dave Portnoy in a Ketwig piece on top of his head. I don't know what that was, in a tuxedo. Yeah, it was awesome. But we are back, Far End of the Bench, episode 102, second, presented by the Variety Sports Network, and also Row One Brand. Anytime you go to row1brand.com, you get 15% off anything in the art gallery when you use code VSP15. That's VSP15. That'll go back to the Variety Sports Network and help us to continue to churn out the great content. There's shows pretty much throughout the entire week. Not really anything so far on the weekends, but lots of great stuff. YouTube channel as well, Variety Sports Network. Follow us at FEOTB Pod and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Far End of the Bench. Episode 102. Nick, how's it going? We're back on Zoom because you're traveling. You're a traveling man again.
Because I'm in Utah. I'm in Utah. That other side of the Rocky Mountains over here. So I'm here for another tournament. But yeah, it's I don't necessarily love doing Zoom, but sometimes you have to make do when I'm gone. But it is what it is. But yeah, no, I'm excited. Like I said, this is the first time being in Utah since the SLC Club Lacrosse Tournament National Championships, which I was here in 2017, 2018. So
yeah, we had a pretty cool time in Utah. That was when we went to Jordan and beat Jordan in senior year when we traveled as a team. That was our trip.
It's funny. My hotel's right next to the Jazz Stadium. And it's funny walking by all the Gobert and Donovan Mitchell stuff on sale. It's kind of funny. Donovan Mitchell hasn't been traded yet, and there's still all that shisa is on sale. So it's hilarious.
Oh man, it always trips me out being in Utah and the mountains are on the east side instead of the west side. I can't get used to that. It puts me in a bad mood. Other than that, it also, like, everything in Utah, every community that I've been in, seems a little bit like it's just Arvada and it's moved a little bit further east. That's really what Utah ends up being to me. They only serve 3.5 beer. That's the other bad thing about Utah. So
yeah, it's funny. I sit down at the hotel bar and I'm getting carded. Obviously you're supposed to card people, but sitting down at
honor system, and he's gonna
honor system is real.
bend the card, check it up against the light. Yeah, I think click. Yeah. All right, and yeah, that looks like a little bit like you. The mustache is throwing me off a little bit, so I guess you're okay.
It's funny. It's funny here. It's crazy too, man. It's also the best week of the year, Jimmy. The best week of the year.
What week is that?
It's fucking Shark Week. It's flipping Shark Week too. I am watching Shark Week in my corner when there's no sports on. It's before football season, and when it always comes through for me, Shark Week. Watching the GOAT Andy Casagrande and some sharks just eating on some stuff. Life is good. Life is flipping good.
At what point are we going to finally get what we all deserve and get Orca Week? Because Orca Week would be some intense. Like, they do some weird stuff. Orcas and dolphins, I would do an Orca and Dolphin Week just to every now and then. We can still have Shark Week, but I feel like Shark Week, we've seen every show that we can possibly see. It's a shark. It's swimming up to a scuba diver. Oh, it's about to bite the tank, and then the show ends, and that's it. Like, we poked a couple sharks.
They still reel me in every year. No pun.
I'm just saying.
Every year.
I would like a homicidal murder dolphin week instead of Shark Week once every 3 years, and then I'll be satisfied. Those things, they punt stingrays out of the water. They like sit up at the
they're-
top of the surface and they punt to them as far as they can out of the water and don't eat them.
They hunt great white sharks.
Yeah.
Orcas are one of
and
the
blue
apexes.
whales. They hunt blue whales. Then they just pepper them like they one pack holds a perimeter and the other pack just peppers them with headbutts like smack, 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 smack.
They're beasts.
Yeah.
Like I said, one of the great things why I love shark because we know so little about the ocean. Obviously, we live in the mountains, so obviously we're not around the ocean all the time. But learning more about like the sea life and especially how freaking badass sharks are, it's incredible. I freaking love every second of it. Literally, like usually I go out and do things. I mean, but there isn't a whole lot in Salt Lake right now going on because it's the middle of summer. It's not like go skiing. So I work and I'm watching Shark Week basically all week.
There you go. It's remember when did you go snorkeling that year we went in the Keys?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That was some cool. That's the first and only time other than a cruise that I went on where I was out in the ocean to the point where you couldn't see land on the horizon. And that's always, it's like a trip and a half, especially
it's scary,
for
but it's fun.
A Colorado
riveting.
kid. It's just like, I always remember that because somebody dropped their flipper and I, for some reason, agreed to be the one to dive down. And I got all the way down and grabbed the flipper. And I look up. In my head, I go from the ocean floor grabbing the flipper to up, and I'm staring a barracuda in the eyes. And we both kind of look at each other, and I think he's a little bit scared of me. I'm a little bit scared of him, but I'm like 13. I go, I'm trying to inflate my life jacket in the bottom, like, get me out. I need out. That's not snowflake.
Get me out of here. I don't want this to get eaten by a literally 6-foot barracuda. Get me the hell away from here.
Let me. I need to get back on the boat. I belong in a landlocked state. This is where I belong. I think this is the sixth state that you've podcasted from, by the way. Florida.
The sixth one?
Florida, Carolina, right? North and South.
Florida, South Carolina last year. I was in Oklahoma. I was in Vegas. Vegas/Reno, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be in Florida in 2 more weeks. So I've been I'm a traveling circuit as I like to call myself.
Who says that we're just a Denver-based podcast? We're nationwide. That's why we joined the Variety Sports Network. We're nationwide now. All right, let's get into the topics that we brought to the table, and that starts with the UFC. It was just a fight night card. Didn't really give a whole bunch of attention to it. Basically, just the 2 fights that we're going to talk about. And it started off with the women's fight, Molly Meatball, Barstool.
Molly McCann, McCann.
Molly McCann, not McDonald. Molly McCann. Barstool athlete and Paddy Pimblett's best friend, training partner. She is fighting. Like the girl that she's fighting was absolutely yoked. Molly, let's see, Hannah Goldie was absolutely yoked, and they're having a fun exchange. It was 3 minutes. It was a wild. It reminded me of that Arlovsky-Travis Brown fight where it didn't go long, but the entire time that the fight was going on, they were throwing shots and exchanging. And at points, Molly was catching a little bit in striking. She was fighting like that was a good fighter that she was going up against. It was kind of like the next tier where she's going to break through because she's still young in the UFC. Her and Patty are still trying to gain their footing and move up the ladder of the rankings. This was a huge step for her. And the way that she did it in front of a hometown crowd, that was huge for them. I think it's one of the first UFC events that's been in the O2 Arena since the pandemic. So that was a big milestone thing. So there's a lot of great things that were going on.
The O2 Arena, I mean, like, look, that you saw a football, as they call it in Europe, football atmosphere, basically to a UFC event. Like it was, that's how much fun they have over there. Obviously, we have our fun over here, but it's a little bit different. The football, and I'm saying football as in soccer, obviously. The football fans over there in Europe are a different level of craziness.
They become actual gangs. Yeah, like their teams. Arsenal is a gang.
Imagine basically a LA Dodgers versus San Francisco Giants where they basically want to kill each other every time they see each other.
Yeah,
Except every team is like that in Europe.
It's the outsiders. Yeah, it's the outsiders where you meet in the field with a lead pipe and a chain, and you just go at it, and whoever's left standing is whoever's left standing. It's ridiculous.
Bringing that to a UFC event, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Look. I went to that Conor McGregor and Cerrone fight, and the European backing. I mean, look, these two individuals, Paddy and Molly, are both from England and Great Britain, and Conor McGregor when he was from Ireland. It's a different atmosphere. It absolutely is. It's a different aura, a different thing in the building when it's a home country. Like I said, when we have a fighter from Colorado fighting in Colorado and a big UFC card, we all lose our minds. It's a whole country. It's a whole nation that backs one fighter and it just embraces it. It's incredible to watch. It's great for the sport. I mean, like UFC just looks at that like ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. I'm not saying that Molly is going to be able to get to a belt. She has a long ways to go. She has to fight some real competition. Same with Paddy. But this is if you're looking to sell your mid card and undercards or whatever for the time being until these two can get to a point where they're contending for stuff. If they get there, this is exactly how you do it. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's best case scenario for the UFC, and hopefully I was talking a little bit about it last week with the Dagestanians coming after me for saying that Makhachev might not be ready for the step up in competition to go up against Oliveira. If the UFC takes it right with McCann and with Paddy, this is your main event, co-main event of your fight nights moving forward. Anytime that there's a fight card on ESPN, it should be Paddy Pimblett and Molly McCann, co-main event, main event. Whichever one is doing better or getting a little bit more hype, moving up the rankings faster. You have their teammates, one, and UFC likes to put teammates on the same card. They're both massive stars in their own way, and they're bigger stars outside of the octagon. Like, they make a majority of their money not fighting. They make a majority of their money in between fights, going to football games because they don't miss a soccer. Europe's weird that way, where they don't have anything scheduled during the week, but they have soccer games on Saturdays and Sundays, and everybody goes Saturdays and Sundays to the soccer games. So they're going to that, and they're having fun and living their life. They're like young superstars, and you're right. There's still a long way to go for both of them, really, to see whether they're going to be like championship level fighters. But right now, they're two of the faster rising stars that are in the organization.
Oh, absolutely. If you, like I said, Dana's freaking loving every second of it. One thing that the UFC just thrives and loves to hammer on is the diversity. I mean, you look at there's 3 African champions. Nigeria has Kamaru Usman. I'm not going to mess up and mistakenly say the country's wrong for Izzy and for Ngannou, but they're both from Africa. Like it's and like you talk about the Europeans, and you have the Islams, Makhachev,
the Dagestanis, the Czechs. Yep, I'm pretty sure Peter Yan was Russian proper. I'm pretty sure. Yep.
And you have the Wei-Lis, like that come from China, like you
Aljamain Sterling from Jamaica.
I mean, it's all everywhere. It's so good. It's a sport. Like I said, it's probably the fastest growing sport that we've seen in the last 10, 15 years. A sport that basically 20 years ago in the early 2000s was barely able to stay on his feet, and now is making multi-million-dollar deals with athletes and traveling all across the world, selling out the biggest arenas in the world. That's because of the international aspect of having 2 people like Paddy and the Molly McCanns in the world that can promote and excite the fans that just thrive on it all.
Yeah, I think too the UFC is at the point now. We didn't think that they would get big enough to where they could be sold for $4.5 billion, and they're at the point now with the ESPN deal where anything that they put out on TV is going to be able to make them money. They haven't done an event where they've lost in a long time, and they don't have to do the pay-per-view model anymore. They can just throw out fight nights or just on the ESPN Plus app, and they're able to just move forward with whatever they kind of have to do. And it's an interesting spot for them to be in. So then
And yeah, I mean, I really like these two fighters. I mean, Molly and Patty, they're so incredible. Like, obviously, Patty, I think, has obviously the most better skill set. Probably, you look at his wrestling and his grappling. It's very good. I'm not gonna say it's top of the division. I'm not gonna go that far, but I mean, it's very respectable. And the guy can standing up on his feet. Like, he's very, very solid on multiple parts of his game. That's what makes him dangerous. And if you're the UFC, you see a guy having finishes like he has the last couple of fights, where he chokes the guy out, basically one of the cleanest chokeholds you'll ever see. And the knockout power he has too, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's a guy that literally is eating freaking chicken wings in the post game press conference because the guy just loves to eat. He
gets up to 205 and then cuts down to featherweight.
I heard that Padres picture of him and Molly was photoshopped.
He said it was photoshopped, yeah.
But either way, the guy does not necessarily.
Hey, I mean, if you do it the right way, and it looks like he does it the right way, because he comes when you see him at the weigh-in, he never comes out of shape. He's always all tip top, ready to go, and his style. I don't think he's as good of a kickboxer as Cerrone, but the style is similar to a Cerrone, where you have good stand up and you don't really fear going to the ground. Because when he went to the ground in that fight, it's like a shark. Speaking of Shark Week, it's like when you're watching a shark circle of prey, and you see that they don't really see what's coming, and all of a sudden it's almost inevitable that it's going to slip in, and his neck is around, and it's a choke. He's getting up and halo teabagging his opponent. And we're talking about a finish from Paddy the Baddy in now 3 fights in a row for the UFC. He's undefeated in the UFC. I think he's on a 6-fight win streak going back to his old organization. The last fight that he lost, I think, was a title fight in that organization. And the sky's the limit for both of these two fighters. It's going to be how Dana White and the UFC choose to handle them, though.
Which division is he in? Is he 145?
He's 145, yeah. He's not currently in the top 10. I looked through the divisional rankings earlier.
He's not ranked. So is he O'Malley's division? I think that is 145.
I can't remember if. Hold on.
So Sugar Show has a fight coming up against Jan. I guarantee you, Jan's gonna whoop his ass. I
don't like that matchup at all for Sugar Show.
Kick his butt. But if Patty's in that same division, eat me out for that every second of it. I would. That's a fight night card that you put on ABC. Patty versus freaking O'Malley. Fire me up with that. I'm maybe spitballing wrong divisions here, but I feel like that's the same, isn't it?
Let's see. That's the thing. Is Sugar Show going to be in the top 10 rankings? Is he going to be?
Well, because he just won his last fight. No, he lost technically, but it was the eye poke. So he'll. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 145.
I think is he bantamweight or is he featherweight? That's.
Oh yeah, maybe he's one.
I don't think he's in the top. He's not in the top 10.
If you look at those divisions, though, it's going to take a lot for Patty to get up there. It's. You look at the top of those divisions. He's not on Volk's level.
O'Malley's one weight class below him.
Well, okay, that's what I thought was around. Either way, that weight class he's in, there's some very, very tough competition that I would love to see him throwing him in there. See what happens.
So here's where I think he sits currently. 8, 9, and 10 in featherweight is Giga Chikadze, who's got a 14-3 record. Yair Rodriguez, who was kind of the Paddy Pimblett. They were trying to push him of Mexico when he was coming up and then fell on hard times, almost got cut from the UFC. And then you have Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar just lost or just beat Giga Chikadze. So you can maybe
just win too, like 2 weeks ago?
Yair just beat Brian Ortega via TKO earlier this month. So there's guys at the end of like I think you can reasonably say that Paddy Pimblett could be ready for Giga Chikadze. And the guys in front of him at 9 and 8, then a lot of the reason why guys get in trouble when they get pushed really fast is, okay, you get lucky and you beat the shark that they tried to throw you up against when you weren't ready. What's next? There's only other sharks left. At least in this situation with Paddy Pimblett, you can make a case for him being able to beat Yair Rodriguez because I think he's got a better ground game. If he's able to get inside of the strikes and the dynamic game of Rodriguez, he can get in there, get him down, and go to work. Calvin Kattar, I think that you can make a case where it could be a really good fight, and it's going to teach him something. But none of these fights would derail him in a way where you couldn't see him standing up and putting on a decent showing and proving his championship medal. Because at some point, whether you win all of these fights or lose, you are going to have to take that next step up in competition. Is it the correct time for Paddy Pimblett, though, is the question. He's only 3 fights into the UFC.
I think you give him another unranked fight. He beats him the same way he has been. Then you throw him in with. I think Yair's obviously going to run it back to Ortega because of that freak shoulder injury that Ortega had in that fight. So that's gone out the window. Calvin Kattar, if he loses his next fight, then probably throw him to him at this point. Kattar was a guy that was sniffing around the top of that division, sniffing around getting a belt chance, and just never was able to get through to the top. And if he keeps falling, I think that's a guy you can throw on that easily.
Mm-hmm.
I think he still has a long way to go. I'm when I watch him, I'm like, this is so exciting. He's a great fighter, but I'm like, I don't know if he's ready for the dogs yet. like you gotta have some experience. You gotta have some big name fights before you get to the big dogs. For the UFC to be like, yeah, you're a big time main eventer now. You can put on a show, absolutely. Conor put on a show. He put on a show and worked his way to a double champ. No one would ever say Conor McGregor is one of the greatest of all time MMA fighters, but the guy did it when he made his money when he could and got to the top when it was his time. Paddy, I think, has to do the exact same thing.
Okay, and then here's what I'll throw out at you. What's the fight that really put Conor McGregor on that map? Not Poirier, but the Diego Brandao knockout before that. That was really the fight. I would say it wasn't a knockout, but it was a finish. Paddy Pimblett just had his Diego Brandao fight. Maybe you give him a Yair Rodriguez. That could be his Poirier situation, where it's a guy that is more established in the division, had been on a hot streak earlier in his career and trying to get back on track. And can the young buck upset him at that point? And I still, like I said, if Paddy Pimblett loses a fight here, he's 27. He's still on a good trajectory. Yeah. He's fighting at a massive clip, too. I think he's got like 3 fights in the last 2 years since the pandemic happened. It's ridiculous, the pace that he's going at. So I feel like he's going to be able to get himself back if he does somehow lose on – or not somehow. If he does lose on this current run, he's not going to have more opportunities. He will have more opportunities in the future. So it's not do or die for him. But also, I think the main talk about Paddy Pimblett was after his fight, and it was his post-fight press conference where he decided to, instead of celebrate, Michael Bisping gave him the platform, and he decided to take a stand and made a statement on men's mental health. He had a friend that unfortunately took his own life before his fight, and he was told the news on Friday, the day of the weigh-in, so he needed to make a stand, and he felt like he made a statement. I think it was very well spoken, and definitely it's something that's been talked about a little bit more, but I think that it's a subject that you can't ever speak about enough. So it was really cool to see a guy take the time, instead of celebrating and putting the spotlight on him, putting the spotlight on something that he feels really strongly about, and is obviously, you could tell it was genuine. It wasn't like he was doing that to try and garner the attention that he got. He was just doing that because he felt like he needed a release somehow, and that was the one way that he could.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It was perfectly said to a point. I don't have to re-utter what he said, but it's such a perfect way to say it. Like I said, the fight game's a tough one. Sports in general are a tough one. There's constantly people that are struggling with whatever it may be, and especially in the male, with us males, like it's sometimes not talked about because it's supposed to be tough, supposed to be all this and that. Like I said, it was perfectly put, and I cannot utter his words enough, because, like I said, it's a lot easier to be able just to try to sit down. It's not a fun conversation. No one loves having it, but it's a conversation that's better to have than dealing with the consequences later. So it was perfectly put. It shows that Paddy obviously cares not only just about about fighting, about putting on a show, about being himself. That he's more about him and more about that, and it's incredible, absolutely incredible for the sport.
We're gonna go ahead and play just the audio of his interview because neither of us can really paraphrase it. It's something that you got to hear, and it's a message worth spreading. So go ahead, sit back, and listen to Paddy's post-fight interview where he talks about mental health awareness in men, and we'll come back on the other side, get into some other topics, and move on from UFC Fight Night over the weekend here on episode 102 of the Far End of the Bench on the Variety Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Dan Movaheady has called a stop to this contest at 2 minutes, 46 seconds of round number 2. Declaring the winner by submission due to a rear naked choke, Paddy the Paddy Pimblett.
I'm here with Paddy Pimblett. Paddy, you did it again. You rocked the O2.
This is how I get down, boy.
You said this week you knew he was going to shoot for a single leg. Looked like you'd done your homework.
Yeah, once again, disappointed in my performance, lad. That's not... In the back, lad, was firing on all cylinders. That's not me, lad. I was... Pardon me French. I'm better than that.
It was a tough first round, but it was a beautiful finish in the second round. The way you took the back and the way you trapped the arm with the arm triangle, very creative. Is that something you drilled in training camp?
That's something I always do. I always do it, lad. I can't help it. It's something I'm very good at.
You are very good. As I said at the start, you and Molly rocked the O2 once again. When you walked out here, the energy was unbelievable. This crowd lost their mind. You got a few words for the crowd?
I love each and every single person sitting in this crowd, lad. They're the best. But can I say a few words?
Please.
I wanna dedicate this fight to little baby Lee, little warrior. Like, more of a fighter than any of us will ever be. But also, I woke up on Friday morning at 4 a.m. to a message that one of my friends back home had killed himself. This was 5 hours before me weigh-in. So Ricky, lad, that's for you. But there's a stigma in this world that men can't talk. Listen, if you're a man and you've got weight on your shoulders and you think the only way you can solve it is by killing yourself, please speak to someone. Speak to anyone. People would rather, I know I'd rather me mate cry on my shoulder than go to his funeral next week. So please, let's get rid of this stigma and men start talking.